Hello, everybody. This is Karthik Madugula, aka Karma, the life coach, for yet another episode on our podcast, Own Your Day. This podcast is aimed at helping people literally actually own their day every day, because if you own your day every day, the weeks, the months, and the years are yours to rule. And that's all you have to do, really. Because if you can own your day every day and you do that every day, that's all, because our reality is that we live in our days, because tomorrow is a mystery and yesterday was already past. So all we have to focus in life is to do today really, really, really well. So on that note, let's get started on our today's episode of Own Your Day podcast in the topic of seasonal depression. Now, that's a very important topic for this time right now, because a lot of people are entering that phase, and I thought that it would be very helpful for me to do this podcast and give some valuable tips on how one can help themselves out of it, and how one can take care of themselves so that they do not fall for this as well. So let's go through some questions that I received on this topic, and then we will start talking about each question and go into depth of every question as of there as well. So the first question is, what is seasonal depression? Obviously. Now, and then what is the difference between seasonal depression and depression? Is there a difference? What is it? Can season really cause depression? That's a very good question. Why does one fall for this? What are the characteristics of seasonal depression? How to help or support a friend or a loved one going through seasonal depression? Very good question. What are the steps to do to make sure that one can come out of seasonal depression? And a bonus question that I'm going to answer today is also about the deeper principle on how not to even fall for it in the first place. Okay, it's not about bringing yourself out after falling. How can you not fall into it as it is at the start? So let's start with the first question. What is seasonal depression? See, we are creatures that are living in our environment. So our environment definitely does have its own impact on us, our physiology, our psychology, our mood, and everything of that sort. So when we enter seasons in which there is an overall gloom in the atmosphere, in terms of very cold and very dark conditions, in which probably there is not enough sunlight and things like that, so a person's activity levels naturally come down because the environment is not supporting action. That's why you see, polar bears or other animals like that enter a long season of hibernation in peak winters. They store all their food and they are just in their burrows, waiting to come out when the sun will shine again. Okay, so that's the same for human beings as well. So we are also creatures that are affected by our environment. So when the environment is not supporting of activity or not supporting of a person thriving and moving in life, and it sends us off into a dull phase of low energy, okay, that's when, if a person has internal capacity for low mood in that space of time, if a person has internal tendency towards falling into a depressive episode, so the season cooperates with that tendency and causes seasonal depression. So this is what seasonal depression is. So a depressive tendency that is there, which is not activated, which probably a person has kept himself busy and occupied through various things during the better seasons. Now that the season itself is gloomy, that adds to the internal gloom that is already there within the person, and they enter such phase called seasonal depression. So yes, during winters there is a very high chance for seasonal depression, because obviously there is less sunlight, it's always cold and gloomy, and one may ideally want to curl up in their blanket and feel comfortable rather than go out and do some uncomfortable things that actually make life meaningful in a certain way. So since we enter that comfort zone because the season is also demanding for it in a certain way, our levels of activity drop, and as a result, the external gloom combines with internal gloom, and then it makes a phenomenon of itself. This is seasonal depression. The second question: what is the difference between seasonal depression and depression as it is? See, there is a, it's not very different, except that the depression is being helped by the season, if I have to call it that way. Okay, so one already has the tendency to feel depressed, the tendency to feel gloomy to a good extent, which probably is not activated because of this person keeping themselves busy out there doing things, or solving problems, or whatever that is. So when the season uh, adds to the already existing potentiality for depression, that's when you have seasonal depression. So normal depression is when, irrespective of season, your internal gloom catches up to you, and you feel in a low phase of life, in a low mood of life, and it overtakes you irrespective of the season. So depression happens irrespective of season. Seasonal depression happens with the help of a season. Okay, so that's the basic difference. So essentially they both are depression. It's just that in one case there is a tag of the season which is making the depression more powerful in its space, so that it can take us over. Okay, so that's the minor difference between seasonal depression and depression. And the next one: can season really cause depression? Okay, so as we already talked, the season can only create the environment in which depression can thrive. So season by itself cannot cause depression for a person who is very resolved, emotionally resilient, very sorted, very much active in life. No season can cause such a person depression. No amount of things not working, no amount of things being slow can cause depression to a person who is really in a state of well-being. So season cannot cause depression to anyone, but if you already have the tendency, the season can accelerate it. That's probably how we have to understand this situation. So if you are already in well-being, no season can affect you. Do not worry about it. But if you are not in well-being and you are escaping the uncomfortable process of establishing well-being by keeping yourself busy with something or the other, now a season which propagates low levels of activity will remove that distraction that you utilized in terms of being active. So you get into your comfort zone more, and you get under your blanket more, and all of that. So the depressive tendency finally catches up to you with the help of the season, because it has killed your distraction in a way by bringing all of us into a low activity mode. Okay, so season cannot cause depression. An already existing tendency can get wildfire in a season. This is how we have to look at it. So if you are in a state of well-being, no issues. But if you're not in a state of well-being, and if you have been escaping doing that inner work, yes, the season can catch up to you and put you on the path towards actually facing the demons that are inside. Okay, why does one fall for this? Why does one fall for seasonal depression? So the question should be reframed to, why does one fall for depression itself, and then that happens in a season. See, the reason why anyone falls for depression is because, due to whatever ideas or whatever thoughts or beliefs that they may hold, they face enough amount of failure, rejection, downturn, etc., in their life. So when these events happen, and these terrible events make them start feeling bad and low, that is how a person enters depression. Okay, so basically the world not working out your expectations in a certain way, slowly pushes you into the low mood dark pit of depression. Now there is in some cases clinical depression in which it has nothing to do with actually things working out for you or not working out for you, but there are some physiological problems like someone may have thyroid issues, for example, and there are hormonal imbalances in the body. Sometimes it happens to women during menstrual cycles, or even in postpartum prepartum situations. Okay, so physiological effects causing depression is a separate topic altogether. That happens because of hormonal imbalances in the body. Okay, but I'm talking purely about, let us say, someone's physical body is not having any issue as such, but even then them entering a phase like depression. So in such case, depression is happening because somewhere your expectations are not working out and you're not prepared for this. So each hurt tries to dig into you in a stronger way, and then as a result you feel incapable of handling what is happening around you, and you feel a loss of sense of control on life, and helplessness and loneliness along with it, and slowly slip into the slippery slope of depression. And a season can definitely accelerate that process if the season adds for the gloominess. Now coming to hormonal situations, definitely someone facing a hormonal situation should first seek medical help, whether it is thyroid, whether it is postpartum prepartum or anything of that sort. They should get proper medical support, and along with it definitely attend some counseling, so that even on the mindset side resilience is built. So both the medicine side and the mindset side have to be taken care of in such cases. Okay, so this is why someone falls for depression. What are the characteristics of seasonal depression? So the characteristics of seasonal depression are gloom, inactivity, uh, lack of desire to go out, meet friends, do activities, wanting to sit in their own room and sulk, mostly ordering food from outside, not interested in cooking or eating anything healthy, and especially if one is a bachelor staying by themselves, feelings of heavy loneliness because there is no company as such accompanying them in most cases. So these are the various characteristics of seasonal depression. So sometimes some festivals may come that may bring these people out, but if that's not the case, they are mostly sulking in their own room and not wanting to get out that much at all. May have to get out for work, and they do that with some level of resistance. They actually don't want to go out, but they are having to go out because obviously situations are demanding them to do so. So even that adds for the pressure and makes them feel even more depressed, because there is so much of lack of control in life that even though they do not want to go out, they are having to go out. Even that adds to the pressure of the depression. Okay, so these are the various characteristics of depression, coming from gloom to isolation to loneliness to not wanting to get out at all, to having triggered by even small things here and there, and also if having to do something against their will, feeling even more bad because of that. So these are the various characteristics of seasonal depression. How to help or support a friend or a loved one going through seasonal depression. So if your friend or loved one is going through seasonal depression, see, what I want you to understand here is this phase is not permanent for them, which means they are just going through a temporary downtime. So do not look at them as unbearable in this period. I see in many cases many friendships and relationships end in such a time, because obviously when a person is depressed, the other person who's having to handle this sometimes feels overwhelmed and also burdensome about handling it. So if that is happening to any of you by any chance, please seek help for yourself first, so that you are in a proper mental state to handle. Without being in proper mental state, please do not handle such a person, because you will sever the relationship because you're unable to handle. Now coming to, let us say you are doing fine, now how to help them. See, the best thing obviously that you can do is please take them to counseling or medical support if that's necessary. based on any physiological effects like thyroid or anything of that sort. So in most cases, try to take them to counseling, encourage them to go for a counseling session somewhere, so that they change their, they change their perspective and thought about what's happening in their life overall. And on top of that, try to put them to some activity. Whether they cooperate or not is definitely a question to be considered, but given that they're cooperating at least a little bit, okay, definitely do take them out for parties, for hangouts, for movies, for sport, especially for community service, for just generally going around the city and watching the lake or anything of that sort. Okay, so any movement is very helpful. Sport and gym is much better, obviously, because the sweating also creates endorphins inside the body to release some of that stress and make them feel good about themselves as well. So definitely help them create some movement, and try to take them to a counselor if necessary. Now, coming to giving any suggestion. Now, please make sure that you only give suggestion if they're receptive to listening to suggestions from you. If they're not receptive to listening to suggestions from you, I think what you should restrict yourself to is just giving presence, enough amount of presence, and when they are showing some willingness to listen, then only probably a suggestion. Okay, so this is how you should take care of a person going through seasonal depression. Movement as the first factor, and second thing, presence, and then suggestion at the end if they are willing for it. Okay, but most importantly, please make sure that you don't sever the relationship, because this is a temporary phase. If you judge a person based on a temporary phase, you may regret it later when they are doing fine. Okay, so please do not sever your relationships in this period of time. It's a very, very, very bad idea. This is going to be a very bad sample this winter to judge a person and their capacity, and your willingness to keep them in your life. So give it some more time and understand the effects of season on a person's mood as well. So definitely do not sever any relationship. Give it some time. Work on your own mental health. If you're feeling that it has become a burden, take some time off for yourself. You don't have to support this person every day. Ultimately, each one is responsible for their own self. You can only do your best. You cannot do more than what you are capable of doing. By doing what you are by trying to do more than what you're capable of doing, you only put an end to the relationship, because it will become burden for you. Okay, so please take care of yourself first before trying to help anybody else, right? So keep that in mind. What are the steps to make sure that one can come out of seasonal depression? Very good question. So the steps to make sure, to taking personal responsibility here of how to come out of seasonal depression, is definitely create movement and momentum in life. Okay, me one such. Even in winters, I take cold water baths. Why? Because just before that, I would have gone for a good amount of exercise. So the body is hot, and it feels great to take a cold water bath in winter. It's almost like, environment, I'm beating you. Okay, it feels great to take a cold water bath in winter, because it's literally like you are telling the environment around you that even though it is cold, I am still strong enough to do this, and doing that without contracting cold or anything. Yeah, so do much more challenging things in this phase than general times, because in this phase you wouldn't even want to get out. Okay, so definitely take on some meaningful challenges and try to create movement and momentum in your life in this period of time. So that's one, movement and momentum. Two, take on projects in which you can help others, or others may benefit from you, so that you can feel meaningful and purposeful. Three, make a lot of friends and move in social circles, and avoid isolation and loneliness at all costs. Now, I'm not saying that you should desperately try to make friends and meet people and go out and try to belong. No. But what I'm saying is, you should definitely do your best to not always stay isolated. Okay. And four, most importantly, if there are patterns inside you that are causing you gloom and stress and you have been ignoring it for the longest time, now is the time to work on it, because the season brings out the worst of it. So if you, it's the best time to give it the attention and get it resolved with the help of a counselor. So summarizing the four steps again: create movement and momentum for yourself, take on meaningful projects for yourself, as much as possible avoid isolation and loneliness. And then the fourth one, if there are tendencies within you of feeling gloomy and low, this is the best time to work on it and make sure that you'll never be a shikar of this ever again. Okay, so these are some of the things that you can do to come out of seasonal depression if you're already in it. Now, the deeper principle on how not to even fall for it in the first place. This is the bonus question: how not to even fall for it in the first place. See, the way for a person to not fall for it even in the first place is to have a very, 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 very strong purpose in life. See, when you have a very strong purpose, the seasons do not affect you. You feel as if you are born in this world, you are here to do this piece of work or whatever meaningful activity that it is for you. Okay, so that strong sense of purpose will make you not think too much about the season or anything else. Obviously, if there are some other stressors which you have not been handling really well, definitely take help to do so. And if you're really strongly purposeful, you will want to be the best vehicle to be the embodiment of this purpose on this planet. And to be the best vehicle, you should obviously be in well-being. So for your purpose itself, you should work on your well-being. I tell a lot of people who tell me that, oh Karthik, I do not have time for working on myself because I'm so busy and blah 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 whatever. And then I ask them, why are you so busy? And because I'm ambitious, I want to achieve blah 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 whatever. If you actually want to achieve so much, you have to be in well-being, because you cannot achieve for a long time without being in solid well-being. Your achievement of whatever you're doing right now will not last for a long time, and you'll go for a great crash, total crash down, if your well-being is not in place. So have a strong purpose, and for the sake of the purpose and the success itself, create that well-being in your life in this period of time, to make sure that you'll never fall for your stressors and you'll never fall for your triggers. Okay, so with the help of such a strong purpose, beat through the cold and the hot of the seasons and walk with that purpose as your cocoon in this world. So by having such a strong purpose and a reason to wake up and move and be uncomfortable every day, you will beat any season. You will be that, vacuum cleaning machine salesperson in the mid of the winter while the snow is falling and everybody is at rest at home, because you will consider that as the greatest time to sell. Why? Everybody is at home with nothing to do. So they have all the time in the world to listen to what you have to say. So you will get into your car, remove the snow, make sure that your vehicle works, and move and get things done, because you have a purpose that makes you want to wake up and move. Okay, so this is the best way to not even fall for it in the first place, while obviously taking care of your stressors and working on them as well. Okay, now I hope you learned a good deal from this podcast. If anything in this has been helpful to you, please go ahead into the comment section and leave a comment below with your understanding of whatever you learned from this video, so that not just you but other people can also benefit from your wisdom. Even I can learn from your wisdom and your understanding, because I really look forward to learn from everyone that I interact with. Okay, thank you so much for watching this podcast until now. Hope it has been useful for you. Please avoid the seasonal depression by being purposeful and getting out there and having a reason to wake up every day and move and be uncomfortable every single day. So with that, we come to the end of this podcast. And always remember, like I say every time, your only target in life is to own your day every day. Because if you own your day every day, The weeks, the months, and the years are yours to rule. Thank you so much.